But up there, you see my three partners in crime, uh, all four of us, Clay Heighton, Carl Soderstrom, J.R. Garcia, and I are angel investors in Dallas. Deep in healthcare, Clay and I are physicians by training. And that's who got this launched 12 years ago. And then you see, of course, Javelin and Lindsay, who run this thing with me. So the three of us at the bottom are employed by Health Wildcatters, and during the program, you'll interact with all of us, but mostly with Lindsay and Javelin and me. A bit on our history, we have 118 startups that we have invested in and accelerated that have gone on to raise over $350 million. Our network contains over 320 investors and mentors. Almost all of our investors are also mentors. This is our 12th year, and we have 39 states and 12 countries represented in our program. So yes, we have companies from North Carolina, we have companies from New York as well. So if this were a bingo game, I would be hoping for Idaho and Alaska. We don't have startups from there, but this is not what this is about. So I'm happy to stay with states that we have had before. But anyway, it's also a relative game because in most cases it's irrelevant to us where you're from. Many of those things are just short periods of time that somebody happened to be at the time of application. So this is in no way or form their home states in many cases. So our program takes place here in Dallas-Fort Worth at the preeminent bioscience, life science, healthcare business park. The key elements of our program are, of course, mentorship, education, resources, and workspace. Needless to say, investment. Whoops. Here are a couple images of our headquarters in Dallas. This is we moved into these particular digs 2 years ago. It's a vibrant and fun place that we are opening in June, and another almost 3,000 square feet. So we'll be at 9,000 square feet by the time you arrive. And just like any accelerator, we have a lot of co-working space. You see this in the right lower corner, and meeting rooms, and you name it. So it's important to be well connected and meeting lots of people and creating opportunities to run into each other. We have 8 to 12 startups that join us every year out of a pool of last year close to 700 that apply to us. So it's a fairly competitive process. That said, organizations and people who have interacted with us prior to application or during the application, or we've had a chance to meet, but by definition have a leg up. I mean, there's no way we could get to know 700 startups well. So anything we know about you is an advantage. Advance this one more. Here is a little bit of data on us. You see the biggest grouping for us is healthcare IT. Second biggest is medical devices. And if you combine that with diagnostics, you would actually have closer to, you get into the almost 40. The slide still has, I think it might be 11 years because we had 3 pharma companies in the last year. So we're at 6 now. So pharma is fairly well represented now lately, and we're interested in that. There's research tool, there's diagnostics, regulatory, and of course, consumer health startups in our portfolio as well. Here's a little bit of the geographic distribution. I just happen to like maps and visuals a lot. So, it's 40 states actually now. And then Europe and Asia are the 2 continents most represented here. And here's the eye chart of our 118 portfolio companies. Probably our most prominent company is Lantern Pharma, left lower corner, right next to Carryloop. Lantern went public a couple years ago on NASDAQ, but we've had other notable exits like within Vertex or MediBooker and others. So we're obviously investing in your startup. Oops. And this is just a depiction of the many, many mentors that play a role here, an ever-growing list of people who are willing to indulge us and also spend their time with us and help you. One aspect of our operation that often does get overlooked is we have a very deep network in our community, and that is not just the Dallas-Fort Worth community, but broader. And we also we're powered by angel investors. Like I said, 200 angel investors that invest in our funds that also create a funding apparatus for post-accelerator time. But we also have, if you add sponsor money on one side of the funnel and volunteers on the other, then you can do a lot more. And so we've been blessed with organizations that sponsor us. Texas Health Resources is a large hospital system in the Dallas region that just sponsored a big hackathon here with us and also is one of our sponsors. Lighthill Philanthropies is the main backer of Pegasus Park, and so is Biotech at Pegasus Park. Paulson Italy is a law firm. Moss Adams, an accounting firm, was just actually merged with Baker Tilly yesterday, which makes it the 6th largest. You see a bank on there. You see UT Arlington on there, and various other organizations. So these are organizations that believe in our public-facing kind of community service kind of side of things. So this is who backs us on that side. There's a ton of ecosystem events, just a couple here coming up. Date is still from last year, but the Digital Health Investment Conference brought on by MedCity News is organized by them and us together. And we're also a prominent supporter of the IC3 Health Life Science Conference here in Dallas. But there are many, many more that we support. Also organizations that put on events in other states or countries. A little bit about Pegasus Park. The ARPA agency is housed three floors below us. It's so well-funded. These days, you never know how well-funded tomorrow, but as of right now, well-funded organization that helps create better access for U.S. citizens to the taxpayer to healthcare and in cutting-edge research. And so this is just a depiction of the tower that we're in, but you should expect there's several more buildings in our research and life science park here. A little bit about the time before the accelerator. Right now we're in the spring application time period. You can find an application link on our website. And in the summer, we go through a successive round of vetting of startups, and then culminating in a day when we bring all the finalists in to pick the 10 that we'll invest in. 8 to 12 is the range, kind of, and the program starts in the fall. So it goes through, starts in the fall, September. So generally it's the Wednesday after Labor Day when you would arrive. And it's a fairly fast-paced program. We have certain requirements on attendance in person, but we're fairly flexible on most of the time. We offer everything also in hybrid form. The fact is, you're running a startup. You didn't just come up with it this moment. So you got things to do, and you need to pick and choose where you participate. We believe that being exposed to our over 100 programming points is going to be of benefit to you no matter who you are. But ultimately, you are running the company, and you need to decide where you need to be. A couple of points there is at the very beginning, it's very advantageous to be here in person. So the week of Labor Day, starting with that Wednesday, and then the next week are very crucial because we introduce you to the ecosystem, to the press, to our mentors. And so there's a lot of connections being made during that time. And then the midway point in October, we have a week where we intensify the in-person activities as well. And I'll show you a little bit more detailed schedule in a second. And then once again around the pitch day. So your core skeleton minimum viable product would be to be here for 3 to 4 weeks, absolute bare minimum, beginning 2 weeks, 1 week in October and 1 week in November. But in most cases, it would be best if you're spending the majority of your time here. Again, that depends on who you are, what you're doing, and what you need, where you need to be to attend other conferences and opportunities to bring and drive your startup forward. We have a variety of alliances and perks in the program. A lot of them are standard ones, but here are some that are more notable, including, of course, enhanced perks from some of the service providers. Turbo SBR is a tool that we use, and you'll get a subscription to that to help write grants. We, in many cases, believe that there's some low-hanging fruit around some grant writing, but if somebody helps you with that, it makes it a lot more pleasant. MedCity News has a partnership with us, and you'll get a membership with them that helps you on the PR and marketing side. Amazon, of course, gives you more credits than you would get on your own, get various discounts to events, and there's many, many more than this, but this is just a bare minimum listing. And many of these advantages are obviously hard to quantify because of our alliances with about a dozen or so life science and healthcare conferences, from Health Europe to the Digital Health Awards, from LSX in Europe to the Startup Prize Louisiana, from South by Southwest, you name it. So it just goes on and on. So in all these cases, we have some long-standing relationships and can help advance your cause, or at least point out how to best go about applying to pitch one of these events. This is from last year's program. It's really just meant to illustrate how time in the first week and the second week, the first partial week that you see here in the second week, we have a lot of mentor matching taking place. Again, you can do this online, but ideally you're here for this part of the program in person. Very very highly recommended. You will get to know each other. You will get to know a lot of the mentors and investors in person, and it would be a pity to throw that away and just do it on Zoom. You can, but we don't. We really believe this is where you would start not taking advantage of the program if you didn't at least participate in that. Here's a second week, and this is, do we have a tip? Yeah. Second week remains very heavy on mentor matching. And when you go to our website, you can see who the mentors are. The bullseye with mentors is healthcare investors that have built a healthcare startup themselves and have had an exit. But there are many different types, many different experts, and you never know who you click with. When it comes to being a pitch coach, it may not be your healthcare entrepreneur that's your top performer there. It may be somebody totally different. We have architects, we've got marketing people. So it could be somebody totally different that you click with. And so this is about getting into our trusted network of providers and friends and investors and exposing you to them through this mechanism. We believe still about the individuals who start these startups, and then connecting you to other great people who might be able to advance the cause of what you're doing to your advantage. As you can see here, for instance, on Tuesday, the 10th last year, we had an event here called Cocktails with the Chiefs. That was an exclusive event where all of our startups pitched basically the C-suite of all the major hospital systems here in Dallas. ACIG is the organization of healthcare and executive, American College of Healthcare Executives. So this is many of these events are not accessible to the public or even our inner circle. They're just accessible to our program companies. So having the major C-suite people from all the hospitals in this region here is not, it's quite exclusive and helpful. And so here is a more typical week. So we fall into a rhythm after those first 2 weeks that is shown here, which is closer to or 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 to 10 programming points a week. These are the 6 that are every week. You see some expert speakers. In many cases, we have doubled down on the expert speakers, so it's closer to 8 to 10, but usually 6 to 8 minimum every week. And again, these are where you get to know people quite well. You'll have an expert speak on a topic, can ask him or her, or usually have a chance to book some time with him or her afterwards at no charge. What we want to achieve is to get you in front of trusted professionals that can enhance your startup. So you obviously are the one that runs the startup. You need as many friends as you can possibly get to help you with that. And everyone has a blind spot. And so you're here to discover what those may be and fill them in with professionals that are top quality that you click with. Just because somebody gives a talk here doesn't mean that you have to hire them. You run the company. We're just investors in you. But it is true that somebody will speak here is generally an organization or presenting an organization or an individual that we think of highly, and we think that they might be a good choice to engage with. By virtue of being here, they're willing to engage, which is another thing. And in some cases, they're willing to engage in creative ways that allow you to bleed less money as well. So those are all things to keep in mind. Generally, we subscribe to the mantra that if you create these professional relationships, let's say it's in something boring like accounting, to have a great accountant on board that can help you maneuver anything from research tax credits to grant accounting to all the things you need to have done. We believe having a professional by your side with a great reputation and brand name is a value add for you. And you should be able to do it at a fraction of the cost it would cost you time and effort or whoever you hire. And they should know these things super well. And so in that regard, they should have an ability to add significant value to your startup. And so it goes with all the different professions that we go through. Here are some snapshots from, I think this was from last year or the year before. Some of on the left, you see kind of a more cozy setting of that conference room table where the 10 teams come together and for most of our lectures. In the center bottom, you see our pitch room. This is where every week you will hone your pitch in the afternoon, followed by a dinner with a prominent speaker. It may be various people that have pledged their support to us. We are blessed to have some really, really cool people helping us. For instance, Dave Albert, the founder of Cardia, AliveCore, or Michael Gordon, the founder of Teladoc, or Lee Ellemeyer, the founder of Lingual Care. But there are many others that aren't as well known, and some others who are, like Dave Kops of Worlds, that are willing to give their time. You'll get to know them. Here's some other pictures. This happens to be, I guess, the fun slide collection here. In the middle center top, you see one of our reunion dinners. Once you're a member, you're always a member, you're always invited. Center bottom is a pitch opportunity at the Southwest Venture Forum at SMU, but just really stand in for any of those opportunities. Left lower corner is a picture of a few alums meeting up at last year's JP Morgan conference. We have a reception there. And yes, during the program, we also have a dinner together, left upper corner, or meet up at the fair, or at the brewery right upper corner, right next door on campus. Here a little bit more detailed overview of the actual week. So Tuesday, there's a segment where I meet up with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So one is a speaker series where I speak, and the other one is on special topics. The other one's more like open mic and check-in. And then there are expert series on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We bring 2 to 4 experts in every week to speak. On Wednesday, we have pitch practice, and followed by a prominent been there, done that entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur and speaker. I think this is just a different year, but anyway, a few more pictures of outings and things we do. Left upper corner is a good, it's a Zoom meeting. So you see in the left upper corner, there were just a couple of us in the room, but that's okay. In this case, it was a week where everyone had to travel. It looks like Sunny Nadolski was speaking at that one. So Startup Essentials, here are some of the things we will talk about during Startup Essentials, which is the Tuesday noon lecture that I give. So we'll talk about these topics here and then have Q&A. And, this is a conversation about these topics. And part of the idea is to give you the best possible read on the market with regard to these topics. And having been an investor for close to 20 years now myself on the angel side, having seen tens of thousands of startup pitches myself, I will give you my best observation on all these things. That's what I do day in, day out. So have plenty of opinions and plenty of to share, but most importantly, situationally, we can talk about anything that has happened to you or that's going on in your current situation, and there's a good chance that we have something in our playbook of what we've seen done before. Very often in business, it's about creating win-win outcomes, and what that takes is to think creatively around how you can create such solutions. So here are some of the expert topics, as you can see, from tax credits to accounting, from just general overview of the bio labs, Pegasus Park, North Texas ecosystem, fundraising, banking, prototyping, term sheets, FDA, IP law, startup law, which, by the way, I think should be a specialty, HR, which doesn't have to be boring, but you got to do it right, public relations, grants, sales, more than one on sales, securities law, kind of on the grant preparation side with Turbo SBIR, GPOs, monetizing your startup, soft skills, R&D tax credit. So lots and lots of topics. Here are some of the speakers that I've already mentioned. David Humphrey, some of those I've already mentioned, but David Humphrey, for instance, was the CEO of Massage Envy, and Harriet Flowers built several IT startup companies. So there's many more than these, but in a few cases too, we have alums coming back that have been very, very successful. Michael Walsh from Carryloop is a very, very successful startup entrepreneur with a startup that's now way into the 9 digits on the valuation side and probably on its way to unicorn status. So and this now is actual pictures from Pitch Day last year, which was in this building on another floor. So we very much enjoy bringing in the community for the final product. So 100 to 200 people. This is about creating connections throughout the program, and especially towards the end. We spend time to also bring in our Health Investor Alliance members, which is the venture capital side of our operation, and work a lot more on how you will present yourself to VCs, forge connections, try to see who might be interested in you at this stage or who might want to have conversations with you to potentially be an investor in the future. Couple of more images here. We also sometimes have fun and interesting people visiting us, like in a bottom central is the Austrian ambassador. Just various people come through for various reasons, but they each get pitched. We pitch them all. You pitch them all. All right, so we're at questions, and let me also I'm gonna stop sharing this here so I can see you better. On the economic equation, so Health Wildcatters, if you are selected, makes a guaranteed $30,000 investment in you, which all of us know is not a ton of money, but and you get one of the spots in the program. So that's kind of the decision that gets made after a quick pitch in the final round. There are 2 other vehicles by which additional capital might be injected. Those are not guaranteed, up to $100,000 from Health Wildcatters Fund 13, which is the fund that will invest in you, and up to $250,000 from through a convertible note from our investors and LPs directly in you, bypassing us. Those are in maximum numbers only because the instruments that we use those are the numbers that we attach to them as far as the maximum goes. You're welcome, of course, to use the very same documents and open it up to more if there's interest. No reason for you not to, but that's kind of what we we bring to the equation to start with. Again, just to be clear, the initial acceptance into the program will not include the 2 additional convertible notes. Those are separate, and they will be executed on a case-by-case basis directly with you. So they are more based on having gotten to know you and worked with you, and you impressed the pants off of some investors. One of our companies, Mucolife, we have just made a second investment in through a convertible note. Well, actually, it's a little different in their case, but it doesn't matter. A second investment out of the fund, and so it is for. I have knowledge of a couple of investors out of our circles that have also doubled down on Mucolife, which happens to be a Swedish company. So in some cases, this happens throughout the year. We have no illusions that you need to find capital wherever you can, and we're not going to be your sole funder or the only ones that have answers or money or interest in you. The job is to make you attractive to, of course, our network and the people we know, and the Health Investor Alliance network, which is almost 100 venture funds. But beyond that, you equipped with the pitch, and the 5-minute pitch that you learn at Health Wildcatters is a tool in your arsenal that will be very, very likely a huge advantage for you as you go fundraising, because most pitch competition and pitch opportunities will ask you to present a 5-minute pitch or a derivation of such. And so you having honed that pitch for weeks, months, in front of an audience of mentors and investors who are your friends, but that doesn't mean it go soft. But when they say something, they mean it because they want to advance you and help you become the best version of yourself, an effective pitch. So having this tool at your disposal is a huge advantage. It's very difficult to get and solicit honest feedback from people when you're out there by yourself. And these people are going to give it to you. Also, they already invested in you. So this is not about, playing survivor. Once you're in, and everything we do, even criticism, is meant to help build you up, but to give you as much honest truth as we can give you for you to get better. Yeah, I'll stop there. And please use the little arm tool to ask questions, like raise your hand virtually so I can see. I think that'll sort you to the left upper side of my screen, and then I can call on you. Or if you don't find that, just start gesturing wildly like some sort of lunatic, and I'll probably be able to pick you up if you go all crazy on me. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Hi, so it was very interesting, and it seems like an excellent program. I was wondering, you mentioned Lampert, I think was the name of the company that is now publicly listed. Right, so I was wondering what type of company that was.
Yeah, Lantern Pharma is LTRN, ticker symbol on NASDAQ. It is a pharma AI company. So they have, on the one hand, an asset that they're developing, but they're also developing tools on the AI side for pharma development and discovery.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
In many cases, your startup will be, in the early stages. We often fit right after friends and family. So you're at the point where you need to raise from people that are not blood related. People don't have Thanksgiving dinner with you, so strangers. And for that pitch, whether it's an angel group or an angel or a VC, you're gonna have to be presentable. You're gonna have to have numbers. You're gonna have to have assumptions. You're gonna have to have a pitch that they listen to. And so all the due diligence we do on you is pretty light. We don't have the resources to do full VC due diligence on you. But it still is a lot more than an angel group might get when somebody comes in first through the door. So we do that throughout this summer. We do a number of documents that we need from you. Sometimes they are not in existence yet, which is fine. We just need to kind of do a collection of what you have, an inventory of where you are. And it has happened that our collection of documents was something the entrepreneur asked for a year later, and some sort of, there's less these days when you have online backup, but wouldn't be the first time that somebody can't find the documents anymore. So that is not something we hope to hear from you, but if it is, we are invested in you. We are buying common shares, by the way. So we're in the same boat as you are, the entrepreneur. And as far as anything happens after the accelerator, when you're getting investor money, as you know, there's different classes of investment, preferred shares, which is perfectly appropriate for angel investors to ask for. But as soon as those instruments are being introduced, there is a possibility of a divergence of a good outcome between a startup entrepreneur and its first investors. Such does not exist for us. If your common shares are worth something, our common shares are worth something. So this is probably the first and last time that somebody will invest in you in common shares that are putting us on purpose in the same boat with you. And this is a very important piece of the equation because for what it's worth, you will want to think about, what are their intentions? What do they want? What's their best outcome? If my best outcome is the same as the core entrepreneurial team's best outcome, there's not a whole lot of things that I will say or that we will push for that aren't in your and our best economic interest. Whether we agree on that or not is a different question. We're not, with 118 companies, we're not going to be on your board, and we're going to own a small stake in your company, so we're not going to have sway, and that's not how we roll anyway. But it is important to know that if entrepreneurs come back to me, and that happens all the time, I happen to be the first a more kind of focal point on me in this case, because that's my main job, is that we'll give you our best window on the world and what we think might be beneficial to you, and you won't have to worry about whether that's divergent from your best outcome, because it's, at least in our opinion, the best outcome for us and you. So later on, when you have preferred shares, like I said, these paths can diverge and stuff can happen. And by the way, lots of stuff will happen on your journey. So having people on board that are almost forced to row in your boat is a good thing. No outriggers on that boat. Okay, let's see. Will, you have a question?
Yes, Dr. Zajac, I was curious, of the companies that make it through the initial incubation period, what percentage or what number go on typically or historically go on to receive an investment either from your fund or from your directors and LLPs?
That's a good question. We don't have 100%. Oh, Rebecca, could you mute yourself? We don't have 100% insight into that, because some of the companies that don't raise don't tell us, and so that happens naturally. But generally, I would say the majority raise capital out of the accelerator. There are actually also examples of startups who don't want to raise necessarily at that point, even though our most typical company will. There are situations where a company decides well, several pathways. Obviously, they try and it doesn't work, and then they bootstrap, or they don't feel like the offering in the market is worth it for them. The money's too dear. That usually requires a situation where you have other options. There's some hard care situations where that's just not the case. I mean, if you need to develop a drug, you need to develop a drug, and there isn't any shortcut to the X amount of millions that you need in first round, second round, third round. But when you have a healthcare consumer good, a digital health device, there's some special situations in some cases where companies can decide to go on that pathway. And of course, there are also companies who will raise significant amounts of money who don't succeed, right? So let's have to be honest on that too. So we have some examples of such as well. And then as far as our alive or dead scenario goes, having 12 years of data, as you would expect, all of last year's are alive and well and doing their thing. And then I think 1 or 2 years down, we've got our first company that's given up. And, as you go down to the first fund, it will be less and less. Of note, we have some quite substantial and very significantly successful companies in very old funds still. So for better or for worse, in our case, yeah, as an investor, we don't like for them to stay this illiquid for that long, but it can happen. It's another thing you need to keep in consideration when you embark on this journey, that things could take, even if they go well, very, very long. Now, obviously, if that happens, generally things start looking up for you, and you can live a decent life with a decent salary, and so things start. Like Caroloop would be a good example, looking up, but for us investors doesn't necessarily mean that we have a liquidity event. So in some cases we're like cheering him on to to do that, but it's always your choice. It's your company, and if you've got the stamina to do it. And by the way, in some cases too, it can be a situation where somebody is selling, and we might say, "Well, you're just really doing well. Are you sure you want to sell right now?" But again, if the entrepreneur needs to do that thing, then we're there to support them. Again, it's you and your team are going to be the best that can assess that. But certainly we want to make sure it wasn't for a lack of something that we could have controlled in helping you with. Yeah. Okay, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you. I loved the presentation. I had a question about potential clients, because what we're positioning ourselves to be, since we're pain abatement for chronic pain, would there be possibility to have warm introductions to hospital systems or pain centers, or possibly corporations that have employee benefit programs that would be possibly interested in what we're offering?
Yeah. I mean, Texas Health Resource is a good start. I mean, we have our liaison there is the Benji Mao, the number 2 person of the whole system. So in some cases, it goes all the way to the top, and the most innovative people are right there. In other cases, it's really at the doing level, and that's fine as well. But in each case, we will assess who in the network knows who, and who could we make introductions to, whether it's investors or pilots or partners or synergistic organizations, group purchasing organizations, you name it. So that really a lot happens in those first 2 weeks when you get to know a lot of our mentors, because each mentor, when you think about it, somebody makes a small investment in one of our funds, and then they say, but I'll also give my Rolodex. So then they will take meetings with the startups and decide on where do we want to go from here, where you will get to know some of mentors who learn about you and say, oh my gosh, you need to meet so and so. And so this is something we want to see happen. And a lot of this is not as easy as looking at the bio. I mean, I can tell you, for instance, I know, yeah, know stuff about people or their families or their backgrounds that's not in their bio, but they are often the most passionate people about a topic. Let's say a family that's lost a loved one to suicide, or a family that lost a loved one to childhood cancer. So in some cases, we just happen to know I happen to know who they are, or who we could approach. But we talk about a lot of those topics as well in the program, because looking at all potential funders is an important job, and you also need to look at all potential leads. So whether it's grants, federal, state, in a um, um, contracts, if you can execute on such, foundations, philanthropic investors, professional organizations, and VCs, angel investors, family offices. So each layer has its own purpose, and depending on what you're after with your technology or startup, it may be prudent to spend some time on each. And not everyone can do everything all the time, and
That's true.
now it's very often compartmentalized. It's just not database out there. Yes, the information is out there, but it's not pre-digested for you. I mean, if you're talking childhood cancer, I would point you a certain direction. And there's just many, many personal introductions and connections that we have in our network, and then our mentors have too, because they see a lot of stuff themselves too, and are involved potentially in health systems or healthcare consulting practices.
By the way, did you ever have any within your ecosystem startups that addressed chronic pain?
Mental health, yes. We have one in last year that deals with phantom pain slash pain in diabetic neuropathy. So there's one in there. There's a variety in the Dallas-Fort Worth ecosystem that are.
We're just starting with pain, but we plan to address depression and other mental health disorders eventually. But
Yeah.
chronic pain is our initial
Yeah.
foray. But thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, and we got 5 more minutes, but we also can, move on. The application form is on our webpage, or Lindsay can send you a direct link also to ours.
I'll
We
put
go
it in the chat. There's also a
Yeah.
few questions in the chat if you want to take a look at those.
Oh, yeah. I've ignored those. Yeah, so Lindsay answered our, there's no cost. Wait a second, didn't you answer some of those also? Oh, yeah, okay, sorry, I see, here we go. Yeah, the basic deal is 8%, $30,000 investment, one spot in the program. If your company has over $1 million of dilutive capital already raised, or $1 million of cumulative income, then there's another pathway to proceed as well for us. But that's the kind of the standard package right there. There is no, we're not going to be able to be Zoe, so we're not going to be able to be involved in your board or board of advisors or directors. You're welcome, and you should see your mentors and our supporters all as potential targets to put on any of those boards if you wish. Generally at the beginning, you really don't need to stuff your board of directors that much, because you want to have a fairly small and tight board, and probably want to reserve 2 co-founders and reserve that third spot for your first big investor, the lead investor, most likely. So Health Blockheaders does not take a board position. There's one exception, but that's from 12 years ago. Is it necessary, Ankita, you're asking if it's necessary to establish a startup prior to the program? No, you technically don't have to. For us to be able to invest in you, you do. In many cases, startups are in LLC format and then convert to a Delaware C Corp in the summer, which is going to be your preferred method. You could also do Texas C Corp. But generally that's happens summer is fairly easy to do, especially if you're fresh. You might not want to do an LLC incorporation and then 2 months later turn around and do a Delaware C Corp. If you will never hear from us, this is the only, or this is the pathway you have to pursue. But we will certainly, let me put it this way. You want to talk about Hubert's biggest pain points? It is, drum roll, Cousin Vinny. So your attorney is Cousin Vinny from the movie Cousin Vinny. So somebody like that. Now that's the good news, is like Cousin Vinny in the movie is like totally incompetent. But more importantly, you might have somebody who's a corporate attorney or a good friend who's a corporate attorney, or who thinks that startups are just small corporations and that's all. It's not that difficult. It's just a mini corp. No, I really want you to have a startup attorney by your side. That is someone who deals with startups on a daily basis. We, of course, know a good number of them. And yes, you can deduce from our sponsorship that one of them is going to be Polsinelli Lawyers. They are superb and they have a startup package that's very, very cheap to set you up. But there are many other good startup attorneys. Find someone who specializes in startups. That is one of my biggest pain points, because somebody who is a corporate attorney and starts coming in here and wants to negotiate a package for you with me, I can't even tell you how that's not going to happen, how much that's not going to happen. And the reason is I don't have an army of lawyers here to negotiate your private equity deal for a startup that just got started. We have a deal, we have a set of documents, they're very balanced, and that's the set of documents you're going to get. Now, if you have some pre-existing condition, which meant like some sort of a situation with prior investors, and it would cause some sort of a huge hardship on you, well, then we're not here to torture you, but in most cases, it's just not necessary. So just keep this in mind, please. Your startup attorney will save you a lot of time and effort. It will save you, he or she will save you money. And if it's a brand name, that's great. I see somebody saying Wilson Sonsini. That's awesome. Of course, that's probably the number one name in the industry. But there are many other good ones. And yeah, all we need is somebody who understands that specialty of law and understands all the various imbalances of where you are with regard to power and choices and things you can give on and you not give on. But from our end, it'll be very simple. You're going to get a document, and we're not in a position to start like making 10 custom documents for you. So I represent about 25, 30 investors, and there's one set of documents that has been very mildly modified over the years, but it's held up quite well to be fair and balanced for both sides. And remember, whatever you write in that document, we're going to have to live with ourselves as follow-on investors and vice versa. So there's some good checks and balances in there. When we put a set of documents in front of you, do you think I want one of my Health Investor Alliance venture capitalists look at this and say, oh my gosh, Rebecca, they took you for a ride. This is terrible. These scoundrels. No, I can't afford that. My reputation in the industry is everything to me. So what I give you is going to be fair to my investors. I believe it is fair to all of you as well. It's going to have checks and balances. It's going to have both sides on there, but it doesn't have any major holes for one side or another to take advantage of the others, and this is important as well. Let me just make sure I answered, Ankita. I think I answered your question, so you can do that in the summer. I see Rebecca used Wilson Sonsini, and I answered the question on board of directors. Yeah, so you will get a lot of unfiltered, and we are at time, by the way, opinions from our investors, from our mentors, from our staff, from me. And it's all meant to make you better and strengthen you and give you multiple examples of things that we've seen work, seen not work. And a lot of what you will learn has to do with making it, keep it simple, stupid. So to make it relatable to your average investor who is a college-educated person, but you should, assume a eighth grader type of math and knowledge level. It's because you got to get a lot of information over really fast. You can roll out your Harvard degree later and go into all the little details. That is not how you get to know them. When you get to know them, you give them a very simple message. You can give them the opportunity, and you got to hook them. They have to believe that there's something cool there and to have a second meeting or to hear you out. We are at time, so raise your hand or forever hold your peace. You have my my email is hubert@healthwildcatters.com, so it's not excessively difficult to guess. It doesn't even contain my last name, so you don't have to learn how to spell that ever. But Hubert will work. There we go. Thank you, Lindsay. All right. Well, good deal. I hope to see many of you again on applications and get to know you in person. And thank you for your time. Bye-bye.